Happy Saturday, my good friends. So, how many of you guys, raise of hands, you're actively searching for leads, whether you're doing final expense, Medicare, ACA? Raise of hands. Leads is the lifeblood of any business. And, you know, most agents, they work different types of leads: TV, Facebook, direct mail, YouTube. I mean, there's so many kinds, right? But let me ask you a question, because a lot of you guys that follow me, you guys know that, I've done well holding some of these centers accountable, agencies, by holding them accountable for calling my cell phone illegally. Compliance. And there's no secret. This year, I've had 6 violations. I've settled over 5 of them, cash money, for thousands of dollars. And I always sit back and wonder, how these people that make these calls, either they just don't care, or they're not in compliance and they don't know. And I get it. So I wanted to spend some time here today and share with you guys just a little bit of some of the issues when it comes to compliance and what to look out for, especially if you're buying leads. Now, with the FCC making law that moving forward in 2025, they are going to a 1-to-1 consent. So what does that mean, the 1-to-1 consent? Well, I'm not trying to confuse you guys, but I'm going to do my best to explain it to you as easy as possible. So, when you go to any website, there's always fine print in a little box where you're giving permission to the owner of that website landing page. You're giving them permission so that they can call you to solicit whatever the product was on the website. Let's say it's final expense. The fine print states that you give permission to Herrera Insurance Marketing, Senior Life, to call you back. Whether you're on the do not call registry or not, you're giving them that permission. Now, that permission only exists for 90 days. After 90 days, if that person is on the do not call registry, you can no longer call that person to solicit that final expense. Also, within those 90 days, you're able to text message them. You're able to send them a video message, call them, use any of your AI technology, fancy CRM system for 90 days. But that fine print, come the first of the year, if you're not a part of that agency or that advertisement is not yours directly, that it has your name, then you won't be able to call that lead. You see, up until this law change this year, I can generate final expense leads all day long. And whatever me and my agents, we didn't work, we can sell that to another agent that's doing final expense. Not a problem. Even though the agency that's calling that lead is a whole different name, it was okay, as long as it was within the same category. If it's final expense, an agent's calling them to offer that final expense. So come the first of the year, those days are over. Now, if your name or the agency or the company that you work for documented is not on that opt-in, then you can find yourself in a position where you're calling that lead, and it could be a litigator that's on the do not call registry, and he's going to get you. And when you go and tell him, hey man, but you went to the website XYZ, he's going to say, is your name XYZ? And if the answer is no, boy, you can face, again, a TCPA and DNC violation. I'll go ahead and put a video that talks about the 90-day period because it's very important. Also, you see live transfers being sold. Very, very common overseas. And I have nothing against my friends overseas. They do a great job. But I hate to say it, but a big, big percentage of overseas centers are not in compliance. And this is why. Most centers, when they are selling you, let's say, a final expense lead, they claim that they are working opted in leads. But in most cases, it's not a true fact because of how expensive it is to generate that lead and then to send it to a call center. In most cases, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense to send it directly to the agent that purchased it. But what happens? Well, these centers buy raw data, random numbers of names, numbers, and they're scrubbing them against the do not call registry. And then they're cold calling them and soliciting them. And there's nothing wrong with cold calling. But you can't text message people if it's a cold number. You can't use your fancy CRM because you'd be using a dialing system that's prohibited by TCPA if that person didn't give you permission. But now they're cold calling, they're soliciting. And when they get somebody interested, right, they take them from cold to warm, then they transfer it to you. And it's all good and all. But most of these centers, they don't have their DNC in order. They don't have their TCPA in order. And the systems they use to check for do not call registries, not to mention most of them don't have their SANS number, which is a huge investment. But the systems that they use to scrub those numbers, in most cases, they are not accurate. So, what good is it to, dial on raw numbers if your DNC system is not accurate? If it's off 1%, what good is that? Think about it. If you got 100 calls in a week, but the system that center's using to check the DNC is not accurate, well, you're going to come across probably someone like me that will hold you accountable for calling me illegally. So that's one thing. The next thing is the caller IDs a lot of these centers use are spoofed. And what that means is basically the number is not a real number per se. So, they're copying somebody else's number, and that in itself is a major problem. And there's way more things that I could talk about here today. If you'd like to learn more, check out my YouTube channel. Send me a direct message. I'll be more than happy to spend some time with you and cover some of these points. But again, what good is it to lose a bunch of money because you're buying leads that are going to get you in trouble? So I hope this information gave you guys a little bit more insight of what to look out for and what to ask for. And if you need more help, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to help you. Peace.